It's the do not scratch your eyes post-match phone-in on X or Twitter or whatever it's called these days.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Well, it's been a great afternoon. I think most of us were really, really pleased on Tuesday night because the whole kind of performance was there. It felt it was really, really there all the time. Today, not so much. Not so much. The performance was frustrating. We had 2 shots on target in the first half, and none in the second, seemingly, if the stats are to be believed. Although Boller's effort that got deflected off was possibly something to look at and consider. But a very frustrating day. Kept the same team who started at Hull. And we had an early chance with some pressure being put on the goalkeeper. I think it was from Dumbia, and it fell to Kayembe. And he did what Kayembe does, which is take a touch. Always takes a touch. And it was, nothing was therefore forthcoming in the end, which was more than a little bit frustrating, I have to say. There were chances, but it was just very. Anyway, look, it moved forward. The clincher for me was when we took off Mfuni, who I think everybody's been impressed with. Was he as impressive as he was against Hull? No, because it wasn't quite the same game. We didn't have quite the same level of dominance with the ball, but he still looked tidy and everything. You make the sub. We bought Ongolia Chidza, and the first thing he does is lose his marker to head home. Now the 101 in terms of coaching is, unless he was injured, unless you can avoid it, you don't make a sub when you're defending a set piece. Just look to when we kind of had that idiot come on the pitch against Sheffield Wednesday when we could have won it in the championship that time, and he comes on, distracts people turn off, people haven't quite got accustomed to it yet. Somebody gets Ongolia Chidza's first introduction to everything is to see the ball go in the back of the net, and that's the decisive moment in the game. And games are decided by these moments. So, yes. What can I do? Frustrating day. As frustrating for the performance as it was the result, because it was decided in that one moment. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not Mfuni needed to go off, or whether it was a decision to do it. In which case, just hold it. Just hold it. The defining moment went against us. Rich, sir, as frustrating as it was impressive on Tuesday, was it not?
Yeah, I think that's a fair comment. What are Watford now? This is the trouble, isn't it? It's a shame. Charlie Daniels today has learned very quickly that for 90 minutes on Tuesday and for 70 minutes today, as auditions go, he was doing pretty decent.
Yeah.
And then obviously had a complete head loss, and between them on the bench to do the schoolboyish thing. And I don't care what anybody says, it's a schoolboy error. You never do it. Everybody knows. Unless your centre half broke his leg and you've got to make the change, you do not make that decision, and the new centre half will get the slack for it, but that's down to the management team of today, and it's cost us the game. Simple as that. Along with, how on earth do you make the substitutions so late? I mean, come on. This is ludicrous. I mean, it's just unbelievable, the head loss that the 3 lads on the side have had in that last 15 minutes. How has Chak stayed on that pitch the whole game? Mamo is walking around the side, the best player on the pitch yet again. Yeah, he has his moments. Yes, his end product could be better. But Chak, oh my goodness. I mean, the guy, he's not ready. He hasn't had a pre-season. He'll give you 45 minutes, fair enough. But my goodness me, how does he stay on the pitch for 90 minutes or 5 minutes, whatever it was?
Yeah.
It's just beggars belief. And you just sit here and you think, why do I even bother coming on and talking about it? Why do I even get frustrated? Because we're watching what you think are sensible human beings making the most horrendous decisions. I mean, we've got rid of Harry. He doesn't bring on Bar. And now we've got Daniels. Now, either somebody on high, and I wouldn't put it past us, is making these decisions, but if Daniels is going to stand by and say that's that on him today, the guy is stupid because he's just talked himself out of being the coach for at least the rest of the season. And who knows? And, I'm sorry, that is a Southampton team that was struggling, that were there for the taking. I wasn't just thinking having a point. I was thinking we're going to win this game. But then I think, look at the strikers. Both strikers today were terrible, terrible, terrible. Did nothing to help Watford in that game whatsoever. We're playing with 10 men all the time because the centre forward has been atrocious for both of them. And, and they're both big lads, both with left foots, both can't seem to jump. It's just appalling at striker. And, Pozzo, Duxbury, Barami and Nani, you've cocked it up yet again by not bringing a striker in. Southampton have brought in a 30-year-old centre forward to lump on the pitch.
Kyle Larin.
With 30 minutes to go, and your podcast was talking to the Southampton lad in the week, and I listened to it, and he called it to a nutshell. That is what he's been brought in for, an experienced lump to come on and make an impact. And guess what he did today? And what do we bring on? We're bringing on nothing. And when we bring substitutions on, we've got 10 minutes to go. It's just boring now. Keep talking about it, and I'm sure everybody's feeling the same. It's just a letdown. You've got a couple of thousand supporters have travelled down to Southampton, early start for a lunchtime kickoff, and once again they're coming away frustrated. They've not seen their team have a shot on goal of any real note in the second half, let alone much in the first. They've not seen a goal again. They've had nothing to cheer. And, it's just dead. And, we're going to go to Preston next Saturday. And what we're going to do, Preston lump it around. We're just going to pussyfoot it around and not have shots on goal. It's just not good enough. And we haven't got the players. We keep hearing that we've got, these talented players. They switch off so quickly. They can't concentrate on the ball. And, we've played the same team again, which you could understand from the start, but you don't come out the second half with it when you've got those lads on the bench that have got some pace and power to make a difference. But you can't make a difference in 5-10 minutes. And hugely let down by the coaching team today, because I thought, yeah, give them a go, because I saw something. I saw a structure. And I saw it for a good 40-50 minutes again today, bearing in mind we're away from home. Whether at home that goes down well, time will tell. But away from home, it was wrong. And then they had a complete and utter meltdown on the side there. And it beggars belief. But such a shame. Another defeat, another failure. And we're just slipping down to probably what we are, mid-table obscurity, and it's disappointing, and I don't really know what much more to say.
Well, it starts to become, because that was game number 31, I think. So we've now got 15, 16 games left, 15 games. And obviously the determination to try to not just do rinse and repeat, not just do the same thing that we've had for the last 3 years in the Championship, which is be in or around it in, some way in January. Bearing in mind, we haven't won now for is it 6 games or is it 7 games? I mean, we'll get onto the goal scoring in a minute, or the lack thereof in a minute. But we've always kind of just ended up sliding down to around 11th to 14th to 13th, something along those lines. And obviously what's required here is something that's going to make us believe that something else could potentially be the case here. All of the comments for anybody who's just listening only are around exactly what you just said there, which is around it's a defensive corner. Why are you taking him off? A number of people have said, here we go. HJ 2025 says Golia Chidza will get the blame, but whoever makes a sub when defending a corner, it's there and there again. Mark Schofield, Mark says, why the fuck take Mafuni off just before a corner? The new chap came on and the player he was marking scored from the corner. It is one of those moments, and I think there's things to take a look at, and it's always good to take a look at the performance and take a look at, kind of touch on the result. The result is obviously a frustration, but as we always say, it's a game. It's a game of moments. We'll be feeling about that, I'm sure, how Norwich were when we got a win, because you think it's that one decisive moment that's dealt with it. But Norwich deserves something out of it. I don't think we warranted anything in terms of potential taking anything from the game. Not because Southampton particularly deserved it, but they took that decisive moment. They had that moment of some kind of breaking away, and it was a decent header. There's no doubt about it. But we don't really deserve to take anything out of that, and we haven't deserved to score now in what I believe is something close to about 350 minutes of football.
Yeah, I mean, and football is a game of moments, you're correct,
Yeah.
but it's also a game of making decisions.
Yes.
That's why people are put in positions to make decisions. And if you stand there and you don't make decisions, and particularly not the right ones, then you're literally leaving yourself open. I mean, you're away at a previous Premiership team of last season. You're in the game, you're comfortably have a case for a point, and you make a decision like that, and then you follow it up by not trying to chase the game back and leave it another 10 minutes before you bring any substitutions on. And then it's almost like a token gesture. The players at that point are thinking, F me, I'm going to get 5 minutes again. Where's my motivation? Every single one of them, what Bar must be thinking, it must be just, and I'm not saying he's the next Messiah and is going to come on and rip it up, but at least give him a bloody 35, 40 minutes to have a go, not 5 minutes here. It's disgraceful. It's embarrassing. And the football club is in a mess, and it's run by, terrible people at the top. There's a virus going through the club as far as I'm concerned. And until they go, nothing is going to change. We're going to plateau now. The season's over now. That you don't go that, you're not picking up enough points to call yourself a challenge for the playoffs. Somebody comes, we ain't lost, we have lost now. But yeah, all these points we've been picking up points and we're on the edge. We're not. We're slipping by. There's no form in the team. There's no looking that we're going to blow teams away to get into that top six like all the others have. Those that have strengthened properly as well.
Yeah.
And we've come away from the transfer window again without addressing one of the most key areas of our team to bring it all together. And we've got young lads that may one day be decent, but they're just lumps that really don't look like scoring a goal in a month of Sundays. And it's really sad, and it's just exasperating, quite honestly, Peter.
I don't disagree. A couple of comments just to run past you. TJ26.26, very precise, very, very definite name there. I like that. He says, if Chak doesn't get a goal or assist in the next 2 games, he will have half the amount Sissoko had in the same amount of games. Now, I'm not just bringing that up so that we can pronounce Sissoko wrong, obviously, although obviously overriding temptation to do so. He absolutely is taking over the phrase of flatters to deceive, because he can look classy, but the number of crosses today from corners for our own that failed to beat the first man. And I appreciate that's not the only criteria, but we just failed to do so. And he was included in that corner taking kind of 3 with Ngakia and Loser. The amount of times when we had the opportunity to break forward and he takes a first touch back. Now, I know that's part of that because he's inverted and therefore he sort of does that. But other than the late, for me, the late in the first half, he got a touch and put in a decent delivery to the far post, which just evaded Doumbia late on. Other than that, for me, Chak Fatadza didn't really offer us much, whereas you always had something from Marma, and yet keeping, a bar off the pitch for him until the 86th minute feels, unless there is a medical reason, feels baffling. And do we look at it and go, well, the previous manager didn't do it, and the previous manager before that didn't give him a time, or do we go, no, sod it, he's got that in his locker, and we haven't scored in God knows how long. Get some artillery on the pitch.
Well, Pete, this is what we're saying. This is the incompetence of it. If you can see it, I can see it. I would wager most people that are listening to this and are putting their views on social media as we speak can see it. Why cannot even if it was one manager? Let's take it if it was Garcia as it was, and he was in his mind. Today we have Daniels, we have Gosling, and we have Mariappa. Surely amongst three of them, you could say to each other, guys, look, this is obvious what's going on here. We need to get someone like Barr. I'm not necessarily saying it had to be Barr. You just had to change Chatfordazzi. It was not working. And he takes Mama off. It is just unbelievable. You move Mama into Chak's position and bring Barr on. Surely that's the obvious one. But there are, you got Petrie. He's got some pace about him. He's not a right back. So chuck him down, whatever. You make a decision. You're losing the game. You've given them the game. You're losing the game. And you're not making the decision. It's unfathomable. It's just unbelievable that they can stand there and not see it. I don't understand it, Peter. And as I say, if there's anyone on here that really understands it and can come on and give me a defence of them today, I'll tip my hat to you and say fair play. But it's absolutely bonkers. And it's not like it's anything new. We're seeing it week in, week out.
Yep.
And it's got, somebody needs shaking hell. Because God knows somebody is picking that team at the moment and it's not right. And, accountability needs to be made quickly and they need to get a move on. But I don't even get, there's nobody out there in the world that I'm going to get enthusiastic about. They can bring Mourinho in to manage our team tomorrow and he's still got to work for Prozzo. So where is the enthusiasm to get behind the team? I love my football club. I love my team. I have for 50 years, and I go because I want to see my football team, but I don't like it. I don't like that team at all. I don't like the club, but it's my team and I'll stick with it. But the poor fans that are being shortchanged that go to the away games particularly, and the rubbish we're watching at home, and then we sit there today and we watch as the obvious things don't, make the decisions. If they don't work, everybody can say, fair enough, we'd have all done that, We'd have probably all started with the same team today. So tick. Not many people were moaning about the side that was picked.
No.
Of course not. But come the 45 minutes, 50 minutes, when you could see the game was there for the taking, with the alleged power that we might have on the substitutions bench, to not bring it on until we're chasing the game with 10 minutes to go is unforgivable, embarrassing, and totally incompetent. I'll let someone else have a chat now, Pete.
Rich, sir, two things. Thank you very much, sir. Have a good weekend. And of course, don't forget, it was Mrs. WFC2's birthday earlier on in the week. She let you watch the whole game. So now, have you already taken her out or is it tonight?
That was last night, thankfully.
That was last night. If only been tonight, because always when Rich is taken her out, we always win before that. It's all Mrs. WFC2's fault. Let's take away that goodwill straight away. Rich, thank you, sir. Have a good weekend for the rest of it. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. Let's get Caden on. Caden, you've been waiting there since you and Rich kind of came on at roughly at the same time onto the board. I imagine equally frustrated. Caden, what are your thoughts today?
Well, good afternoon, Peter. I hope you're well. Well, that's frustrating. We played well, but the number one rule in football was not followed today. You do not take a player off on a corner, especially when it is one of your centre-backs, knowing that they are going to be a key part into the marking of that corner. So very, very naive from Charlie Daniels today. I don't know how Kayembe survived 90 minutes as well. I called for him to start because I thought he warranted it. But today, he was dreadful. And I was saying to my brother at half-time, I said, best thing we can do is bring Kayembe off, bring Chak into the midfield and play Barr off the wing with Mama.
Mm-hmm.
But no, we don't do that. We let Kayembe stink out the gaff. And instead of bringing on all of our attacking changes, we're too focused on making two changes at the back that didn't need to happen. We didn't need foremost Mendy. We didn't need Golokachidze because Abankwah and Mfuni were working well up until the point of the goal. They were working really, really well. And And Fooney was better with his discipline today as well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it comes down to obviously what preceded the corner was basically Fooney, dropping on his back, and was he injured? Did he have to come off? It didn't look it, and he kind of strolled off quite happily at the time. So it does look an odd one, but that also comes down to the medical assessment of him, kind of getting treatment. But also, I'm not sure whether or not he was all right for it. But also, if you receive treatment, don't you have to go off anyway? So he might not have been on there anyway. I'm not sure. I'm trying to remember back to the game now, and it's all gone in a rather unsatisfactory blur per normal. But never mind. A couple of points here. Ray Badrick says we're not clinical enough. It doesn't matter who the manager is. Nothing will change while the clowns above are at the club. The managers are not given a chance due to board's constant interference. In terms of, I think most people will back up Ray in terms of, as we've said, even after Tuesday and various times, that it feels like we're waiting for somebody to buy the club and what have you, because it's a question of saying, if we're deciding that at no point do we think the three forwards that we have are, if we honestly think that they're good enough to take us up, then we're sort of, with the best will in the world for their future development. And I do think that in 18 months we might have two or three players out of there who might be decent. But a great point that was put over by HJ 2025 said, Deeney, Vidra, Igalo, Forestieri. These were the forward options that we had in 2015 when we went up, versus Luca Kieramgard, Dumbia, Semedo. Now, I like Dumbia. I think out of the three, I think he's really the one with something to go for. And I have to apologise. The other day I said I thought Semedo was on loan from Udinese. Apparently he's not. Apparently he's signed on a 5-year contract, everybody. Go figure. I apologise that I missed that. So out of the three, I think Dumbia is the best option. But I don't think any of those three would have got into the side in 2015, sorry. It's 10 years ago now, and I think we have to look at the forward line and go, it's really not holding a candle to what we've once had, is it? And not even in the glory days. I'm talking in the recent past.
Yeah, Mama Dumbia played well, I think.
Yeah,
I know some people will say that he hasn't, but I thought he was really good. But bringing on Kieram is basically like us having a red card and going down to 10, because he's useless. He's absolutely useless. And there's no use of Kieram and Semedo. They're both as useless as each other. We've got one okay-ish striker, but the one okay-ish striker that we've got can't find the back of the net. But he does everything else really, really well. So what can we do? And it's naivety from the board to think, oh yeah, the striker isn't an issue. Well, it is, because the strikers are the ones that are going to take you up to the Premier League. They're the ones that are going to be scoring all the goals. You can't rely on people like Loser and Mama to score all of the goals. You just can't do it. And you're trying to run everything on so cheap that it's just never going to work. And the transfer window was a calamity. We bought in okay-ish players. One of them isn't, well, two of them aren't fit, couldn't be in the squad today, one of them being more understandable in Bove. But it was a shambles. And I feel so sorry for Gogliachidze today, because he's come on his debut on a corner, and sod's law is that corner is going to be scored. That happens 9 times out of 10. That you're always going to score if the opposition have made a substitution on a corner.
You're not always.
It's more naivety.
You're not always going to score, of course, but it's one of those things whereby it's more likely to happen. The level of organisation, the defending player being up to the pace and speed of the game, and the attacker's movement. Well, in fairness, the attacker had only just come on. That was his first touch of the game, I think. So,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like, you've got to react, you've got to get there, and he's kind of, you'll be kind of nervy, butterflies, all of that sort of stuff. So it's better to be concentrated and know that it's there. And as people are saying, look, it's rookie management. Interesting. Robbo 1001000 said thought the change to a back three was good with 10 minutes to go, chasing the game. Seemed to be somewhat of a reaction to going down. Well, of course, because you're shifting from 4 at the back to more of a three. However, at one stage, once they'd done that, you'd got it. We were lined up still as a back 4 with James Abankwah on the left, which seemed a little bit odd at one stage. But I think the idea was exactly as Rob says there, which is 3 at the back, 2 wing backs, and of course one of those was Petris on the right. I think Boller did all right all game. Personally, I don't think the problems that we have stem from left back or left wing back. If Mark Boller is the answer, personally. But we then went 2 in the middle, and we kind of went with sort of 3 up top with Chak Fatadza and Boller. Chak Fatadza Bar playing off of Kiramgar. But it was all a little bit too little, too late on 86th minute. And of course, it did have that wonderful moment of taking Jeremy and Ngakia off for Jeremy Petris, so Jeremy for a Jeremy, and a Mendy for a Mendy, because of course you can't have 2 Mendys on the pitch at once, because otherwise the world will explode. It was a bit odd for me. And Ngakia looked absolutely knackered in the first half. And I was amazed that after his performance, and I appreciate that, defensively, Petris isn't necessarily everything that's there, but I was surprised that he didn't earn longer on the pitch, even if it would have still been a right back from Daniels today. But he kind of just kept him there and kept Jeremy there. Jeremy looks tired to me. Does he look tired to you?
Yeah, he really does.
Okay. All right, mate. Lovely stuff. Well, there's Kate, and I'm sure he's going to be chatting with things on the Hornet Talk podcast, which I look out for it. It'll be on, I'm sure, sort of Monday or a day in and around that. Let's get to Mr. Parslow, who's been waiting also. Then I'm going to be coming to who am I coming to there? I'm going to be coming to Ray Badrick. And so I'm going to come to you, Ray, and then I'm going to come to Greg. If you want to say something, if you want to add anything, pop them in the comments or hit request on Twitter Spaces. Then you can have a chat with us. John's gone to his normal spinning wheel of doom. Everybody, very frustrating for John and for us. But obviously, it's been that kind of day. Sorry, John. I think you're probably having fun with your Bluetooth in your car again. That's normally what happens. Let me try and add you as a speaker. That definitely means it's not working. John, are you there? Let me try one more time. Nope, looking like spinning wheel of doom, John. Don't know what's going on with your phone. It's all very odd. Let's try and get Ray in and see what we can do with there. Mr. Badrick, sir, are you there?
I am, yes.
Hello, mate. How are you doing? You okay?
Yeah, good, thank you, yeah.
Good. Notwithstanding, obviously, the frustration of the game today. But I read out one of your points there, said we are not clinical enough. It doesn't matter who the manager is. Nothing will change till the clown's at the top of the club, as you say. That was absolutely part of the frustration, I think, throughout the season. But today, do you look at it as simply that moment for that corner and that frustration, or was there more in the performance that you would have liked to have seen change?
I think also with the whole game, we're not clinical enough.
Yeah.
And I think it goes not just obviously with the front three, because obviously I think we should have invested in a striker in the January window or in August, September, because they're obviously development players and they're not. And I think we needed someone with more experience. But also when I look through the whole squad, I think we're playing with attacking wing backs. And I know that it's not their main job to actually put the ball in the back of the net. But when I've seen this season, like Bolo, for example, there's been some times when he's got into excellent positions and it'd be easier to say score sometimes, and he misses. And that's where we're missing. We're getting to great positions and they don't put the ball in the net when it's sometimes easier to score. And I think that's my biggest frustration with the team. Yeah, is that we're meant to be having we've got on paper a really good attacking team. And yet, a lot of the time, these players get into great positions and they just don't do what they should be doing with it. And perhaps we're not as good as we think we are because they're not doing the simple things correctly. And I think that's the main issue with us at the moment. And I go back, but also you just don't know what's going on behind the scenes with people are saying, "Oh, the managers made the wrong decisions," but we don't know what's going on behind the club. Are there strings being pulled to say, no, you do this on so many minutes. We just don't know. Well, some people might know what's going on behind the scenes. I don't, but we just don't know what's going on behind the scenes about who's saying what about when to make the substitutions as well.
Well, with Mafuni, if anybody's going to be making the call, it would typically be medical, because it'll be like, all right, he's got this many minutes in him, and he took him off a kind of a not dissimilar. I can't remember the exact minute he took him off, but that seemed to be more related, or we presumed at least on Tuesday against Hull that it was relating to the yellow card that he was sitting on.
Yeah, I mean, regarding that particular, I mean, that was the schoolboy error. He should not have made that substitution, and that was wrong
in that moment.
Yeah, but I think regarding the other substitutions later on, you know, I agree. Why didn't Barr come on till that late? And I think that's the issue, that we just don't know what's going on, really.
No, this is true. This is the frustration, and I think that lack of, as you say, when you're in a good position to deliver it, I've got some sympathy for the forwards, because if you look at the amount of goals that, for example, let's just take Kieran simply because that was the stats I saw. They were comparing Kieran to oh god, his name, Finn Azaz, on part that I saw before the game, and Finn Azaz has basically scored as many goals as him in the sort of period that he's in, and he joined late, but obviously we know with Kieran he's been in and out, but he scored 7 goals. But his XG, and I'm not the greatest user of stats in terms of in the world, but XG being that's roughly how many goals you'd expect him, was significant. It was about 4.5, and he scored 7. So it does talk a bit to the level of service, or the lack of service, that we're actually also giving these forwards, because we do keep trying to score the perfect goals with sort of, you know, little interplays and little flick backs and various sort of interplay, as opposed to necessarily slightly more straightforward patterns of play. You know, but as you say, even if we do get into those areas to deliver the ball and we fail to do so, we can only look at ourselves. And I thought Southampton looked today as if they were organised. I thought they were strong. I thought that they had a number of times whereby they fouled us and they stayed on the ground for periods of time. There was one where, who was it, came over? I think it was Hayward Bellis came over, in one of them clattered into James Abankwah as he was coming out. Didn't get close to the ball, and then he was down for ages to have treatment. I don't know if that's to avoid a yellow card or what, but he didn't get a yellow on that particular occasion. And then we had the similar thing on Marma as well, which was most frustrating indeed. Oh well, there we go. Anyway, Ray, good to hear from you, sir. Thank you very much indeed for coming on and saying hello. Let's get to somebody who will be struggling to find his positivity. Let's get to Greg. Let's bring him in. Would help, of course, if I press the buttons that I need to press first of all. You know me, yabba yabba yabba. Never pressing the right buttons at the best of times. Oh, hello, Pete. Greg, frustrating one, wasn't it?
Yeah, mate, very frustrating. Yeah, Mrs. Wendover took in a game though today.
Oh, Mrs. W, how are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Good. Now, I appreciate everybody's going to be going, we need to hear what Greg needs to say about Southampton. But first of all, what I want to hear is from Mrs. Wendover. Mrs. Wendover, how was Vegas?
You've gone.
Oh, come on. Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. I can hear you, Pete. Yeah, I'm here.
How was Vegas?
Vegas was amazing as normal. Yeah, all good.
As normal. Oh, there you go. Well, I'm glad you had a nice time. Let's get back to Greg. Greg, frustrating day. Some funny old decisions, and the corner, the substitution before it is being called out by everybody in terms of it. How did you see everything today?
Look, Pete, you can't knock them for effort. They tried and tried and tried. But look, Caden was talking about strikers. I'm sorry, if Alan Shearer and Gary Lineker were up front, it would have made no difference, because the balls into them are just, it's just the supply. It's the final ball. They do all the hard work, and then the final ball is dreadful, or they make the wrong decision, and it's the wrong final ball. That's the problem. Okay, we could have better strikers, But if we had better strikers today, wouldn't have made much of a difference, in my opinion. I think Doumbia works very, very hard, very hard. But yeah, I do. I've always said I see something in Kurungard, and I saw developing in him earlier on in the season. I think he's going backwards at the moment. I think his first touch wasn't there today when he came on, and so forth. But largely, it's that final ball. I thought Loser was very bad today. His first touch and so forth. When your best player isn't on it, that is a problem. When your other really good player, Chakravarti, is he a really good player? Question.
Yeah.
Because his final ball when he was good wasn't great, and now it's even worse. And he always seems to make the wrong decision. Thought Mama worked hard, but I do have to. I think that because they were quite ordinary, Pete. I liked one of their players out. Was it 14? I think that he's called Fellows.
Oh yeah, Tom Fellows. Yeah,
really good.
He used to be at West. He used to be at West Brom. He used to be at West Brom. He's a fantastic assist provider. He's a right winger who plays right wing. He doesn't look fussy or full of a trick, but he'll get the ball, touch, deliver, and he's a good player, definitely.
Our corners are hopeless. Whenever we defend a corner, I think there's a decent percentage chance that the other team are going to score. When we have a corner, I think it's about 1% chance we're going to score. The delivery of the corners isn't great. I agree with you. Jezza was blowing out of his you-know-what after the first 20. And you can't blame the lad for that. He's played so much football. And there's a lack of, Start Petrie's different type of right back, more of an attacking right. But let's just take the handbrake off. Barr came on too late. I'm not knocking Daniels because he's very, very early on, and he's got the lads working. They definitely seem to be working harder. Definitely. But
one of the comments made by Mark Kusher, he says Charlie Daniels looked shell-shocked in the technical area after the goal. I'm not even sure he was the one who finally instigated the late subs. So we'll see kind of what's happening, but I mean Charlie Daniels and what they've done in terms of the organisation, because let's also make no two bones about this. I don't think we played well, but we were a damn sight better than we were against Swansea for certain, as far as I'm concerned, and in some of those previous games. And I think they will have. You only get experience once you needed it in the first place. They'll see that and know that again. But it was a game that could have gone, maybe either way. SFC Joey, hello SFC Joey, says, as a Southampton fan, we didn't deserve to win that, but fair play to our new number 9 Larin for that header. I mean, it's
hello header.
Well, it was a great header, and he lost somebody on, who'd literally just come on and was looking to see what he could do. But we haven't seen anybody really dominate for that sort of header. Maybe we haven't seen anybody given that much space in the box, when we've taken one, and or the delivery hasn't been there. There are so many components to a set piece that we seem to be falling short on currently, aren't there?
Correct. And in the attacking end, I don't think their goalkeeper's made one save in the whole game, or one notable save. So what does that tell you? I'm not into the conspiracy if they're told when to work. Some of the things from above, granted, aren't right at this football club. Granted.
I know. I thought
I don't buy that they're told when to make the sub.
They are by the medical team. They're told how many minutes they can play, but not
definitely buy that.
I don't think that was that. Interesting comment here. HJ 2025 again says, hate to say, but LK9's best games for us were under Pezzolano when we played that 3-5-2. And I think there's a lot to say for that. The difficulty has been when he's playing on his own, he hasn't looked great. When he was playing with that for Yavi under in the 4-2-3-1 or maybe 4-4-2, depending on how close Doumbia came to him, he was still looking like he was dipping. As you said, I think he's still looking like he's not going upwards, he's going downwards. And at the end of the day, you've got to score goals to win games. And whilst we kept a clean sheet on Tuesday and there was a decisive moment today, other than that, it could have been a clean sheet. One player I want to call out because I think he would have been responsible had today been a clean sheet for that clean sheet. Selvik made a few excellent stops after a couple of dodgy games. What did you make of Selvik today?
Yeah. There's nothing to blame Selvik for today. He looked relatively solid, and there was less punching, thankfully, because I don't know what got into his head for a number of games that all he could do is punch. He was coming out and collecting the ball, and he made a couple of saves. So yeah, he's got nothing to feel nothing to worry about tonight. It's just the thing with Kurungard, Peter.
Yeah,
his short passing is awful. When on the rarities that he does collect the ball, and then he gives the ball away when he passes it, because he passes it. What can you say? But as I say, you can't blame any of the forwards for not scoring today because they weren't given an opportunity to score. But I thought Papi Mendy was okay today. I thought he was fine. And largely they were all 5, 6s out of 10s, and Southampton weren't more. It could have so easily have been a 0-0, but it's not. We've lost 1-0, and I was thinking this week, after that performance away from home in the week at Hull, they might just say to the lads, carry on for the rest of the season. I wonder whether that's going to happen now. I wonder whether they're going to do something maybe this week. I don't know, but
yeah, interesting.
Hey, it is what it is. It is what it is. It is what it is.
Well, I'll just run something past you because Justin's been doing a great job, and anybody watching on YouTube will see at the bottom in the red. I'm just going to go to add a different one in. Jeff Doyle said to Daniels on the corner sub, he said, we were forced into it. Don't think anyone likes to do it. Stephen was injured, he says. We speak a lot about accountability. Whoever steps on the pitch, we expect you to do your job. He said he, meaning obviously Golia Chidza, knew this. He's apologised already. So we'll say. So look, there seems to be an awareness that no, this wasn't ideal, but it's the talk coming out from there. Thank you for that, Justin. Really appreciate it. That it's not ideal, but if he was injured and you're forced into it, then that's the situation, which is a frustrating one. Because otherwise it goes down to a second 0-0, and we're sitting more talking about why we can't score, aren't we?
Yeah, if it's a 0-0, you come away and say, hey, that's not bad. A point away from home, a team that was in the Premier League last year, though haven't done a great deal this year. But yeah, we just drive home frustrated again, and it's Preston. There's no midweek game this week, is there?
No. We're Preston away next week, and then we go on to Derby. So we've got a couple of midweeks available to everybody, which is probably going to be nice. For 4.5 XG for an entire season is woeful, says Daniel Ellis, with regard to but that's we can criticize. This is talking about Kieran. We can also criticize him for his positioning, but at the end of the day, somebody's still got to give him the ball. It's absolutely awful for what's now, at least 2/3 of that season. QPR game at home seems a very long time ago when it looked at, he did look pretty decent in that. He's moving in the wrong direction. Go on.
What would you do, Pete? Would you bring in another head coach now, or would you just see what happens?
All right. Okay. Well, if we extend the philosophy of doing the same thing and expecting different results is, the apocryphal Einstein's philosophy of madness, right? Or insanity. Then at this moment in time, of everything we've got in place, and I maintain to this day, the Pozzo regime, as it will be looked at, or the Pozzo era, will be seen as an awful lot of good that has come, but it came in the first 6, 7, 8 years of their reign, from 2012 through to 2019. Since then, it's not been, the stuff that's on the pitch hasn't been so good. Now, I appreciate that people will say, oh, the stadium, and I mean, Uncle Ron says, oh, it's all just black cladding and blah, blah, blah. I don't care. It looks much better. It's much tidier. It fulfills what we need, we need as a ground. However, you have to say the biggest individual thing to throw at the Pozzos, bar anything, because we've had good players, right? It has to come down to the managerial position. Now, we've been told before, yeah, what we decided with Tom Cleverley was what we needed was experience. Okay, so we then brought in Petzolano. Petzolano gets 11 games, out of his tree, crazy individual, but fine. You've decided on, so he's got to go. So we bring this in, and we've made the environment so that we've gone through in 12 years, 12 or 13 years now, 26, is it 25 or 26? I mean, we're not even including interim managers in this. We've made it so hostile for them that the idea is, actually the one thing that's worked better than anything else so far has been the interim management who's come in and done something. Because Tom Cleverley came in, and if you remember, his first win was against Birmingham, and never underplay the importance of that game, because we only cleared Birmingham, who got relegated that season, by 6 points. We got 3 points in that game and took 3 points off of them in that game. So, if they'd have gained 3 points and we hadn't have gained 3 points, that could have been a closer situation. Now, I'm not saying, Clev's thereafter was fantastic, because it took him a long time to get some wins out of that particular team, but he did enough to keep us high and dry and allowed him to get the permanent job. You can look at it and go, well, look what happened. Well, we were in the center of all of that, and we know that he wasn't really supported. So fundamentally, it doesn't matter who the manager is who goes. They're still lasting on average somewhere in between 3 to 4 months. So,
which is ridiculous.
Yeah. But in which case, and people were saying it on Tuesday, who might not be thinking it the same here, but I think that okay, he's learned from that. I have seen no reason not to turn around and go, well, give it to Charlie, and Dan and Adrian, whatever for the rest of the season. What's the worst that can happen? We've tried changing runners and riders because promotion is so important to us, and we've ended up 11th, 14th, and 13th. Well, what's the danger of us sinking all the way through? I don't think we will. I wouldn't mind at all them getting a go. What I've heard, it's people have kind of seen the runners and riders. The name who I was sort of pushed towards was the gentleman who's just left Leicester, Marty Cifuentes, who was at QPR, and that's probably the better comparison, because Leicester are going through absolute shit show of a club at the moment. I'm not saying QPR are much better, but he did okay at QPR, but both seasons didn't really start well, and then he came in and got a sense of momentum. But again, and the reason I say that is because, one, he's Spanish. Gino, fairly open secret, Gino prefers Spanish coaches, or at least Hispanic and Spanish speaking coaches, because of the world domination by the Spanish teams, obviously the stuff that you see from Pep, etc. So he might go with him. The most single important thing has to be to make sure that we have an environment that supports the head coach, and ideally giving him, well, no, it doesn't make no difference if they give him the position of manager, because he's not going to be able to sign anybody or be involved in that particular piece.
No, of course he isn't.
But they've got to make it so that it is all there to try to make that a success and stick with it. If that is not the case, and if it's not a question of saying that, there's no point in a way making a change now, because who is going to come in and suddenly be able to get any of those three forwards firing like a good one? Who's going to come in and really get us making the supply lines into the forward line that much better? I think what Charlie Daniels and Dan Gosling and AD Mariappa have done is they've come in, they've given us a bit of a structure. It wasn't quite there today, but again, 3-game week, you can see some tiredness, and it came down to a decisive moment. They've made us at least difficult to beat and get a game against. We're still not effective going forward. And come back to Rich's comment. You could put Jose Mourinho in there. He's not going to suddenly find goals in everybody. And I think that's the fundamental flaw. I was stunned and amazed that in January we didn't think that an experienced forward option might help. And we saw exactly how much somebody like Iran Kunda getting sent off affected our options of pacing behind, because for whatever reason, and there are some suggestions in the comments that Bar isn't 100% fit, and that's why he's getting these kind of small cameos in terms of that. We needed somebody who could go in and make a difference in those deciding moments, somebody with the quality and the experience to make a decision, make a decisive moment count. We have not done that. Under that, though, I'm in agreement with everybody else. And until the management decides that it's going to, properly create and support the manager with the promises that are presumably made prior to his arrival, then what's the point?
Maybe, Peter, the strikers need a different Daniels, Paul Daniels.
Oh. I did like Pete Ryan, but people who heard Pete Ryan ringing the come, and I liked his phrase of Charlie Doodah Daniels. I like the middle front. The middle name of Doodah, I think, is underappreciated by many, but not me. I like it.
Yeah, one thing I would say about the Pozzo era is prior arrival, staying in the division was a success, and aspirations have changed somewhat because
very true.
Promotion, aspirations have changed. I'm not, saying they're the best thing since sliced bread, but aspirations have changed, and we have seen some quality players. We don't see them for long because they sell them, but I would give them that. But I am fed up. I'm a bit become ambivalent to the changing of managers. We've gone past being a laughing stock outside of the football community. People that know nothing about football will say, "Oh yeah, Watford, the team that keep changing it." It's we are beyond the laughing stock, and it's so sad. But, there you go.
I'm going to give you the decision. Right, we're making you Gino for a minute. Okay, we did this. I think you become Gino should be one of these new segments. We're going to make it. We're going to start off. ADT Vlog said, "I actually don't think I'd be opposed to Nigel Pearson till the end of the season." You're Gino.
I don't think he's very well.
Oh, on healthcare. You see, this is the experience of Greg. He gets out of it on technical basis. If he was well, would you go for it? I'm not going to let him off this easy.
I wouldn't say no. The name that stands out to me, and I would ask anybody to have a look at YouTube, watching Will Still doing a coaching session in both English and French. Now, if there is some, we've got a lot of French speakers in our squad, and I think something gets lost in translation without a doubt. If you've got somebody there that speaks both languages fluently, that would be a name I would, if he would come. Lou Horn seems to have a connection into Will Still, and seems to think he's been offered it on a number of occasions and doesn't want it. So, and you've got the Emma connection there as well. So that's one name. The other guy that I liked, under difficult circumstances, he did a really good job nearly getting Blackburn into the playoffs is John
Dale
Thomason.
Yeah, I agree.
They are the two names I would be looking at if we were to change.
Daniel Ellis is suggesting the Spanish lad. We haven't heard of him before. His name is Troyodinho, from the Midlands of Spain. Apparently, I think there may be some embellishment going on there. Well done, Daniel. That's the kind of thing we like.
I'd certainly bring him in to work with strikers, Pete. Why not? Why not?
Why not?
I'd bring him in. You know, he's obviously on a good crack with his media work, but if he wanted to come in a couple of days a week and work with strikers, why not? You know, who better to take the strikers for a few sessions than Troy Deeney, because that is a guy that from the Troy Deeney at his peak to the Troy Deeney that joined us, had a great deal of development and coaching put into him, because they changed, that he improved as a player drastically when he was at his peak. If he could pass on some of that knowledge that he's gained, yes, please. Yeah, no, very good. Hornet Gag says, didn't Pearson almost come to blows with management? Damn, he's seen through what we were trying to do. He was certainly one of the reasons why Gino isn't really keen on English managers, because culturally they expect or request or demand more control than they typically get. So most certainly. Lovely stuff, Greg. Mrs. W, go and have a lovely time around Southampton or wherever you're up to and wherever you're going. Lovely stuff. Let's get into some of these comments from everybody. Let me just quickly refresh here and make sure we get up to date on that. That'll be good. We'll come back to those and then we'll let you all crack on, because hey, Watford's not the only thing. It's a weekend. Let's all enjoy it. The AI Watford manager says, next team talk, look around the room. Every single one of you is here because you earned it, not because of reputation, but because of a badge, because of the work you put in. When we walk out there today, it's not about tactics on a board or anyone. Respond when it hurts. Well, it's not about anybody else. I think we're having AI manager put in charge. That seems definitely the way to go. Jason Rose says, poor Saints beat toothless Watford. He also says, don't make subs at corners. Well, we've found out about it. Sub KMB, not the centre-back, says WFC chef. Gaz says, bin KMB offers absolutely nothing, he says. Also, Saints skirmish shafted by shit strikers. A good bit of alliteration, people. Don't forget, you may think, I don't know what to say. Bit of alliteration always goes a long way. P. Mendy's engine room, hello Brian, says post-Christmas slump yet again. You're not wrong. And Grazie is not here and it's still happening. So yeah, it's almost like it's cultural, isn't it? Time for another manager. Says the Big Lebowski. Brett, don't you start. Simon Parkin said it earlier on. Impotent, no goal in 3. This does not look like a promotion challenging squad. Service and delivery into the area for them, and then the quality of the forwards. We haven't got either of those licked yet. I was really dearly hoping, but the game didn't turn out that way, that we would see, but what quite I was expecting Charlie Daniels to do in one more session of football between Tuesday, or maybe 2. I'm not sure, probably unreasonable amount. I think we look organised at the back and through midfield. We've got some good things. Forward though, I think that we go back to Jason Rose's point, toothless. New manager bounce is over, says the big Lebowski. Was there one? I must have drifted off. TikTok showboaters fail again, says Pete Ryan. Pete has said for a number of times that any team who physically get about us, and I don't think Southampton are particularly physical, but in terms of that, but Harwood Bellis will leave something on anyone, which is fine, fair enough, it's part of the game as far as I'm concerned. But we just didn't deliver. We just didn't deliver. And I thought what was interesting with their subs was that they were forward looking. They bought on the I can't remember was it Edozie? I think they bought on Edozie, and they bought on obviously Carl Lavin as well to try and get something going forward. The majority of ours weren't necessarily forward or offensive subs until the 86th minute when Barr came on, and we shifted to the 3 at the back to try to kind of create kind of an extra man going forward. Carl Campion says overrated attackers fail to score. Yeah, absolutely. He also says only positive, he says, was Selvig today. No, I'd say Mfuni again looked good and looked comfortable, and I think it's no surprise that the goal came
when he wasn't on the pitch, for disorganisation reasons, etc. Southampton goal assisted by Daniels, says Carl Campion. Ryan Cripps says, "Do I not like that? He's doing that again. He's doing that again. I don't approve of this. I don't approve of it, Ryan. New feature: can't score, won't score. Nice, like that. Fuck, shit, piss, wank, bollocks," says the Big Lebowski. Now, if you're going to use any of those words, do what Frank says and add a pot noodle. That's what we're asking for. Peter Willis Jones says mid-table all season long. It's going to be that way, isn't it? Losing, bring on 3 defenders, says Harry. Well, I can kind of understand it if you went from a back 4 to that. But as I said, there was a time when Petrus was playing kind of quite deep. But then he went on his lovely run and got kicked up in the air for the good measure of it at one stage as well. Oh, well, Gaz says embrace the mid-table obscurity. I've got nothing else to embrace. Potso, stop promising promotion. See you next Tuesday, says John. What a god-awful subsy, says John Parslow, trying to get on earlier on. Hello there, says simply a load of shit. Nice, thank you. P. Mendy's engine room, we're back to Brian. History, our chance of promotion. Yeah, but Yavi was the problem, says Paul Fiander Turner, arguing the point. I think you can look at it and go, you can look at it and see a number of different things. Yavi was undoubtedly responsible for players who were on the fringes of the squad not playing. He didn't want to bring them in. They weren't going to do for him, and it also definitely had an impact on the transfer window, because he wanted his players rather than others. You'd have seen in the Watford Observer about the 3 left backs that were mentioned as potentially coming in, included Amas, the lad Zamora from Udinese, formerly of Bournemouth, and one other who escaped my memory for a minute. So he was responsible for that, but because he wanted to play in a certain way, by playing in a different way under Charlie, we've kind of accommodated those. We've actually seen that almost Mendy lives, which is a nice thing. No striker, no bloody chance, says Paul Fiander Turner. Milky Nutkin says, pretty shit, to be honest. I can't. It lacked anything in that final third, really, other than Mama. They can all fuck off. Hampshire Hornet says season done. Exciting players. Bollocks, he says. Alan WFC simple. No striker. The difference. Yeah, and their guy came on, made a difference. Be attacking in the window. See what happens. No one can manage Watford. Who said that? Oh, that was Wirral Steve. Hello, Wirral Steve. Hope you're well. Yeah, but that's yeah. And don't get me wrong. Southampton can quite rightly feel more aggrieved about their transfer window than we would feel about ours, because they lost Adam Armstrong, who was top scorer with 11 goals and 4 assists, and they bought in Lavin, but at least they bought somebody, kind of fresh in. There was somebody to come off the come off the bench and maybe offer something. We didn't do that until so late today. Really, really didn't. Mark Carpenter says, never sub at a corner. We'll see that recurring lots and lots. Martin Pollard says, developing for fees, costing results. Derek Armson, we desperately need a number 9. Mike Brennan, no strikers, no chance. Gino, good one. I can't disagree with that. Dave Lavender, that game had 0-0 written all over it. You do not take a centre half substitution when facing a corner. You wait for the corner to be taken and then make the substitution when the ball goes dead. Schoolboy error by the management team. Barr deserves more playing time as well. Well, we've heard from Charlie in the post-match conference, it seems, and it looks like it was. He says it was forced upon us. He was injured, and he knew what to do when he came on. But you've got to get up to the pace of the game. You really do. Andy Swan says couldn't score in a brothel. The oldies are the goodies, aren't they? On tour in Sussex, there's another game, same lame performance, different manager, same lame performance in this particular instance. In that final third, our 2 strikers are pants, says Latin. I think calling players pants is something that we haven't done for quite some time, and I'm glad to see Zlatan is bringing it back and alive. Offered absolutely nothing second half, says Michael Sills. I think that was the disappointment. I think that was definitely the disappointment. We've had halves, or we've had a season where we've had games of 2 halves, but you've normally seen at least some effect at half time, and I don't think we did. I really don't think we did. Absolutely no end product whatsoever, says Corky Clark. Laura Good says Sabah debut not the best. Laura, you're now in charge of understatement for Do Not Scratch Your Eyes. Trust me, understatement doesn't need much work around here. We're not about that. Latan says, how the fuck did we lose that? Southampton are awful, he says. Reverend Paul Bartlett says, poor sub, cost us dear. Yeah. Yeah, hello, Gary. It says foremost Mendy is alive. Absolutely. Not. I'm not going to give it the full Brian Blessed because it'd kill people in there is. We're going to finish 15th, says Daniel. There you go. Steve Woolley. No wonder Javi said adios. Right. Okay. Well, in that case, let's just quickly get through some of the comments on YouTube. We didn't do this the other night because it was a really late one. And we'd done several of them, so we thought we'd give you some time off. Milchman says, shame the boys couldn't give you a belated birthday present, but yeah, thank you everybody for sending me nice little messages on my birthday. I don't do birthdays. I'm old. I've decided that from now on I'm aging by the day only. I'm refusing to acknowledge the years, even though the evidence of my face and lack of hair would suggest that otherwise. Never mind. Thank you very much for that. OJ says, well fought, but shame what that mistake again make their goal. Let's face it, this was going to be very difficult. At least we're in the games. That's a good way of looking at it. Sack the board. I like that. I like that very much indeed. Golia Chidza will get the blame, but whoever makes a sub when defending a corner, says HJ. OJ comes in and says, forget the promotion. That went out the window in January. It was a god-awful January. Why that? Take off Mafuni just before a corner. The new chap came on, and the player he was marking scored from the corner, says Mark Schofield. OJ back again, no end product. I think that's the number one thing. That's the number one definition. We don't have end product. We don't have end product from the areas going in, with the exception of potentially Marma on occasions. How Chak stayed on with the lack of delivery that he provided. I was astonished, and I have to say I completely echo Rich's comments earlier on, which were, you know, if you're looking at that game and you're going, Marma's the one I need to take off, really? I don't think so. Plus, yet again, says HJ, Bar gets like 6 minutes. Well, there are suggestions lower down, we'll get there, that Bar may not be fully fit, and in which case, if they're managing his time or, you know, for whatever reason, on occasions it might be a question of, well, okay, when we get Iran Kunda back, just make sure you get him fully fit so that you can play. Don't worry about the game time, because there's nothing more frustrating for a Bar coming on the pitch and not running full tilt. We need to get him so he can show off himself, even if we do sell him, you know, in the time. But while we've got him here as an offensive player, and also for the lad himself to give him the best possible chance, give him enough minutes to actually make an effect, and give him some time and make sure he's there as much as we possibly can, because I think everybody is missing a fully fit Quadro Bar. We'd all love to see it. 2 goals in the last 6 games, says Philip Crouch. Isn't rocket science what we needed in the window? That wasn't a slow hand clap, by the way. That was just, what can I say? Daniel Ellis says, Bar is an ox, physical player. Try him up front like Deeney, wear the defenders down and leave something on them the whole game by running at them, and then someone like Iran Kunda or Marma can sneak in. It may be worth a go. Tom Cleverley tried him in his only pre-season up front. The thing with Bar and is typically he looks much better if we play the ball in behind the fullback for him to run onto, because he's fast and he's so physically strong that he'll hold people off. Yes, he can beat them, but it's better if you lay them in. When you play him down the centre, that ball in behind is reduced by 18 yards, being the size of the box, plus however much the goalkeeper comes out. You know, I like to see him try to isolate a forward and go at them. And I would have loved to have just seen that a little bit longer, but it's certainly something to consider. TJ26 says, if Chak doesn't get a goal or assist in the next 2 games, he will have half the amount that Sissoko had in the same amount of games. I now call him Sissoko, and I'm blaming you, Rich. Nobody else, just you. Mark said also the subs at 86 minutes were ridiculous. What the fuck? Bringing on 2 defenders and Bar on 86 minutes. Then we played Bar on the left. I think they were a little bit more free to roam, but he did seem to be taking up a lot of time on the left. But I looked at one stage and there was both Chak and him on the left, which seemed a little bit bonkers, but there we go. F. Mendy comes on also when we're 1-0 down, like we need a new defender coming on. Yeah. After such a great debut, the jury is well out on Daniel, says Mark. HJ says, agree with everything that Rich says. Well, yeah, Yeah, well, it's Rich, isn't it? I think it's just easier to agree with him all the time. Yabby's right. We're fucking shite, says Daniel Ellis, with a nice, quick bit of poetry. I like that. We never looked like scoring. We could have played another 90 minutes and not scored, says Mark. And I said about the Deeney and Vidra bits and bobs. Let's just get to a couple more. I mentioned Ray Badrick. We got him on. He said, we're not clinical enough. It doesn't matter who the manager is. Nothing will change while the clowns above are at the club. The managers are not given a chance due to the board's constant interference. Well, we'll see. Very, 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 very disappointed, says Mark. Now Pozzo will be looking for another manager. We'll see. I like Robbo's comment earlier on. He said, thought the change to the back three was good. With 10 minutes to go, chasing the game seemed to be somewhat of a reaction to it. So, by going from a 4 to a 3 at the back, you should be kind of opening it up and theoretically going to a 3-4-3 more than a 3-5-2. Rookie management really, says that guy Mark. Hornet Gags said, loser reverted back to type. Playing too deep. And why do we want to play these little intricate one-touch passes in tight spaces only to lose possession? I think that's most definitely a frustration that I will echo with you. Haven't scored in 6 hours and 20 minutes of football, says OJ, since 1-0 against Blackburn, and that was scored. And they scored a minute after. Oh, and they scored a minute after. Yes, they did indeed. A couple more. Let's go for. Here we go. HJ, the sub was being prepared before Mafuni went down with his back injury, so the sub was not needed. No, well, we've heard what's been said, and we can only take that on the way that it's mentioned. Dan Ellis says exactly. If we go up, do you think Luca and Dumbia are going to score even one between them in the Premier League? OJ said, okay, changing to a back three in the 15, but why wait 15 minutes? He said. Let's have a last one. I wanted Petzolano out as much as anyone, he says, but at least we had an attacking presence, and LK9 looked decent and was Iran Kunda's best performances. We do have a team that can score and dominate games. Do we? We will see. Final word, actually. Hornet Gags. Selvik is a good shot stopper, but at the end of the first half, he almost cost us. He's like Backman, doesn't command or take control. I thought he had a good game overall. I know exactly what you mean. There was the moment where it was Mafuni and Abankwa coming back, and he was coming out, and it was Ross Stewart who was running in. 3 of them all coming together. Not one of them took charge. And in that particular instance, I was having a chat with a few people, and I agree completely with what one of my colleagues said was the keeper seeing it. He's got to make a decision to come and clear everything out and make the call accordingly. Because in the end, what happened was there was a handball involved, which I don't think the referee or the linesman saw, and Ross Stewart could have actually been played in afterwards, but it kind of spilt out. Yeah, it wasn't all perfect at all. One of those games. But look, it's a 2-game week, so we've had one of those. It's not finished as we would want. I think if we look overall at the interim management, I think we would have looked at that and gone, the 2 performances we'd have taken. With the 2 performances, I think we'd have taken. Everybody was pleased with Hull. This was definitely a drop down, but you quite often see a drop down over a 3-game week, especially one where you've seen, kind of the furore happen after last Saturday, and resignations and all this thing, and everything else changed. 2 away games on the road, so 2 trips to Hull, 1 down to Southampton. It's not an excuse. These are just things. I can understand why we might have been maybe less than fresh from some of the individual players. However, as a group, we didn't really stand up very much today, or enough for me. So yeah, disappointing. But from the interim management point of view, I think they will have learned a lot. I've got no problem if they turn around and say, okay, we're going to carry that on. I suspect we'll probably be seeing somebody like Cifuentes. Will Still would be an interesting one, because as was mentioned by Wendover, he can speak, when he said both languages, like there are only 2 languages. Of course, Spanish would also be useful in this particular dressing room. However, he can speak fluent French, because one of the things that Gino is known to not particularly like is English managers. Well, Will Still was actually born in Belgium, and he lived in Belgium, and he can speak fluent French because he's spoken there. He probably has a much better propensity for language as a result of that than anybody else. However, when he speaks English, he literally, there is no detection of any accent at all. I saw the video that Greg was talking about about a year or so ago, and he kind of speaks in French with all of the kind of sophistication and rhythm that the French speaks, and then he turns into English, and it's like, and fucking do this, and do fucking get that on your fucking head anyway, and then he goes into French, and it's like, oh wow, I can't believe were the expletives only for the English audience? I don't know. I could understand why that would be useful, having somebody who is culturally, shall we say, English, but also culturally European in terms of his approach and understanding of how technical departments work and how, you know, the requirement for data. I can understand the appeal of that. However, at Southampton, it didn't go particularly well. And if anybody listened to the opposition view, one of the things that our friend Football Martin from Southampton said was Southampton's was a bit batshit crazy at the moment, and there was no stability, and there was and we all went, oh Christ, you don't want to go to Watford then? Absolutely not, because if what he wants is something that's a little bit more stable than Southampton was, I very much doubt it'll be Watford. I very much doubt. Anyway, thank you as ever. We will see what happens in the news. If an announcement is made, yeah, we'll probably say some nonsense about it. But in the meantime, have a good weekend. You want?